Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am bringing you one more Christmas in July video tutorial, and I am featuring some supplies from Ranger Ink and Simon Hurley Create, including the brand new Astro Paste, and I'm going to show you how to create your own custom colored Astro Paste. So I'm going to be using these beautiful stamps from Simon Hurley Create. These are a part of his brand new Christmas collection, and it includes this background stamp. This is a rubber cling background stamp. It stamps beautifully. Look at all that brick detail, which I think is perfect for a variety of different kinds of cards. And then I have these sketchy Santas and the Snowmen and this Christmas set, and I will be using all of these on the cards that I'm creating today because I am creating a set of cards. Now, the Astro Paste is new to the line of Simon Hurley Create Paste, and this is a glitter paste, so you know I had to have it. The gel or the medium carrier for this is clear. It dries back clear. So you're going to be left with a really beautiful, bold glitter color in the end. But this Frostbite color is absolutely gorgeous. It's a white glitter, and it has that clear medium, and you can really create some dimension. It's very buildable, and it will dry with that dimension on your card project, which is one of the things that I love so much about it. And it's great for creating your own custom colors. So I'm starting out with a few of the stamps from the Santa set as well as the Snowman set. I really wanted to create some cards where I didn't have to color the image. And I know that I've done this before, but there are times when I like to color and there are times that I don't feel like coloring. And today was one of those days where I was like, I really want to use these stamps, but I don't want to feel like I have to color. So I'm going to show you how to bring some color in different ways where when you're using a sketchy or outline stamp like this, you don't feel like you have to color the image. Now I'm starting out by stamping all of these images onto white cardstock using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne pigment ink. And because this is a pigment ink, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a heat tool before I do my die cutting. Now I am lining up the coordinating dies, and before I run this through my die cut machine, because I don't want that ink to transfer to my cutting plate, I'm going to lay a scrap piece of copy paper over the top to prevent any of that ink that might still be wet from transferring to my plate and then putting ink on other areas of my project. So you can see I'm cutting out all of my images, both the snowmen and the Santas, and then I'm cutting 2 additional layers from plain white cardstock for all of these images. Now this is something that you could skip if you wanted to do, but I was in the mood to do a little bit of layering today, and so that's what I'm going to do. So now that I have all of the additional layers die cut from some plain white cardstock, I'm using some liquid glue to stack these up. So I'll stack up the 2 plain white die cut layers, and I'll finish off my stack with the stamped layer on top. And this is just going to give this non-colored image a little bit of weight and a little bit of heft on the front of the card. It's going to make it feel like a substantial embellishment instead of just a simple piece of cardstock. Now, a great way to add color to a card where you've used some outline images that you haven't colored is to use some colored cardstock strips. And so I am reaching for, you guessed it, my favorite Christmas palette for 2024, and it includes some Concord and 9th cardstocks. So I'm using Rainforest, Juniper, Sea Glass, Stardust, Watermelon, and Ballet Slipper. Now I'm die cutting these to about, I don't know, it's probably about a 1/2 inch. I end up going back and narrowing up my Stardust strip, but we'll see that here in just a moment. And then instead of using the blush colored or the ballet colored cardstock strip, I ended up stamping this brick background onto some white cardstock using that Ballet Slipper ink. So you can see I inked up my stamp. I left it face up on my work surface, and I placed my cardstock on top of that. Then I grabbed a scrap piece of copy paper and laid it over the top and pressed all over that so that I could transfer the ink to my cardstock. I took that over to my trimmer and I trimmed that down to about 1.5 inches, and I trimmed a little off the length. And now I'm stamping my sentiment in some Concord and Ninth Rainforest ink and die cutting that using the coordinating die. I absolutely love this Merry Christmas sentiment. I think it's so beautiful and elegant, and it looks wonderful die cut. So now that I have all of my elements, it's time to assemble. So I have my color in this texture stamped background, this beautiful brick, which is perfect for multiple things throughout the year. And I'm adding that onto a white panel of cardstock that measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then I will take my colored cardstock strips and lay those at an angle across this card front using some liquid glue. So I like to start with the bottom strip in my arrangement here and add that on at the angle that I like. And then I'm going to take the subsequent strips, that's hard to say right now, and I am going to butt those up against the previous strip that I laid down. That keeps everything in line. And you can see that this process is pretty quick. Once you get that first one laid down and you add your liquid glue to each of these, they kind of fall into place really nicely. And so this is something that's easy to do for a card that you're producing many of. It's a great way to add color without having to color your images. Now, I created 6 cards today, and if I would have colored all of those images for each of these 6 cards, it would have taken me a long time. But I can bring in color using colored cardstock strips and a stamped panel very quickly and easily, and these cards will not feel like you skipped out, but they're easy to pull together. So once I have my strips in place, I'm going to go ahead and add some liquid glue to the back of my stacked up Santa, and I'm going to place that kind of on this right hand edge of this stamped brick background area. And then I will take my sentiment and I'm going to add that on. I did add just a little tiny strip of foam adhesive to the right hand side of the sentiment to kind of keep it level with my stacked up Santa. And I added liquid glue to the back left side, and that kind of keeps everything, you know, kosher on the card as far as dimension goes. So let's talk about this Frostbite Astro Paste. The glitter in it is actually white. It kind of reminds me of just like snow. It doesn't have any color. It doesn't have a lot of shine, but it's perfect for creating your own custom colored glitter paste. So I've taken a little bit of this Frostbite Astro Paste and I've added it onto, this is actually a card sleeve. I wanted something that I could toss out at the end of this. And I've used just a single drop of Concord and Ninth Sea Glass Reinker. You could use any dye-based reinker for this. And I kind of mixed it all around. And now I'm using this little palette knife, which by the way is from Ranger and Simon Hurley Create, to add that colored Astro Paste at the bottom of my Santa, just to make it look like he's standing in a little bit of icy snow. Now, I am not spreading this really thin. I am leaving it with some dimension and some chunkiness, and it will dry that way, which is one of the things that I loved so much about working with this. But to be honest with you, when I got it on there, I felt like it was a little bit dark still. So I grabbed some more of that Frostbite Astro Paste, no more reinker, and just mixed that in with the Astro Paste that I have on my card sleeve. Then I kind of scraped up the Frostbite Astro Paste that I had already added at the base of my Santa and remixed it in with the rest of this paste to kind of lighten it up. Now, I love the color that this Astro Paste took on because in the end, it really reminds me of the glaciers that I just saw in Alaska. My husband and I went on an Alaskan cruise recently and we saw glaciers for the first time, and I could not believe how beautifully blue they are. That icy blue color, it's so gorgeous, and that's kind of what I recreated with this Frostbite Astro Paste and this Sea Glass Reinker. I was super happy with the way it turned out. And I was able to create this really beautiful icy colored Astro Paste for all of my cards. You can see I'm just kind of adding a little more Astro Paste as I find it fit to kind of create the color I want. Now, once I got the color that I wanted, I added some to this card project, and then I had plenty left over for my 5 additional cards, which I had not assembled at this time. So what I did with that is I took all of this Astro Paste and I scraped it up and I transferred it to this little pot that I have that's for like traveling with cosmetics. And then I went ahead and made sure I cleaned up my palette knife here with a baby wipe. And then I closed it up, but I added my baby wipe over the top of the seal just to keep some moisture in that. It was like 110 degrees here that day, and I didn't want it to dry out. And since this doesn't have the seal that the Astro Paste container has, I wanted to make sure there's some moisture that stayed in that until I was able to assemble my additional cards and put it onto my card fronts. So I flipped that over, I trimmed off the excess of those strips, and then I added this panel using some foam adhesive onto a top folding ivory card base. I love the kind of vintage feel that that ivory card base adds to this color palette. So I went ahead and assembled the remaining cards that I'm creating today, and then I grabbed that colored Astro Paste that I had kind of set aside in this little mini jar here, and I added that to my cards to finish them off with an icy, snowy look, and I love the way this set of cards turned out. I was able to create 6 cards in a couple hours in the afternoon by keeping the coloring very simple, not adding any color to the images, but instead adding some color with my sentiment, with these colored cardstock strips with a little bit of stamping in the background, and of course, that custom colored icy blue Astro Paste. Now, as always, you will find links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, you can check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, I want to say thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I am so glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I hope you were inspired to create some non-coloring cards and bring some color in other ways. If you were inspired or if you enjoyed this video and these projects, please go ahead and click that thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my YouTube channel so you won't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials I share here. Now, I am not done sharing holiday for this year by any means, but this kind of wraps up Christmas in July here on my YouTube channel and over at my blog, and I hope you've been enjoying this series. Thanks again for watching. I'm so glad you're here, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. You know, if you've made it this far, you are one of my favorites. To subscribe to my channel, go ahead and click the button on the left side of the screen, and here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.